Hi. Quick reminder. The opinions and views expressed by my guests in this episode don't necessarily reflect mine or those of the show. Not every episode, but some episodes this season, we talk about very deep, serious subjects. So if at any point you need to take a pause from listening or watching, please do so. Your mental well-being is far more important to me than any listener metrics. And the show will always be here when you're ready to come back. All right? Let's go. Hi, I'm Adam Jennings, and this is Awaiting Approval, a podcast about the messy human side of creative leadership. Today, I'm joined by Lara Juriansz, Creative Director at TBWA Media Arts Lab, for a relaxed, two-way conversation about her journey, the lessons she's learned, and what it takes to lead with creativity and honesty. Lara, hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm very pleased to get the opportunity to chat through your story. To start us off, as with many guests, and for people to get to know a little bit about you, if we were to record this in person, where would we meet and what would you order to drink?
I am in LA, and I don't, other than going to the office, I don't get out much during the week. So I think we'd go to my favorite cafe here called Destroyer, and then probably get a coffee. I'd get a cortado because of my Australian need for strong espresso, and then walk up to, there's like a little hike that's behind the cafe. So that would be nice.
Excellent. Well, I'll raise a metaphorical, super strong coffee, cheer you on for the rest of this recording. And I know that you have something special for this next answer. You've been doing
Yes.
for your homework on looking at the other episodes. So is there something around your desk that you're happy to show us that gives an insight into you or how you work?
Yeah. I don't keep much on my desk apart from a sort of little box that collects all the, hard drives and things that I don't use, pencils and stuff. But my son has been very specific about what drawings, because I have all their drawings on the wall. He asked me to share his drawing, his latest, which is the things that are around me and surround me while I work. And my other son's, actually, it's going to rip if I take that off, but his Marshmallow Man drawings are around me, and they're little pictures and illustrations that friends have given me. So I keep those close and then desk clear.
I like that. I like that combo. Yeah. I've always struggled with being full on ADHD. I will have one day an entirely clean desk with everything like a bento box style alignment. And then by the end of the day, I'll probably have about 4 or 5 piles that make sense to me and no one else, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like the kind of filing system. But I like that idea of clean working space, and yet like all around you is sort of surrounded by love effectively.
Yeah, you need that reminder. I've got my little notebook that I don't use anymore for work because of sort of confidentiality, and I'm terrible at remembering to take things with me. So I will leave phones, water bottles, notebooks, like lying everywhere, 100%. If there's a pair of sunglasses at one of my teammates' desks, it's mine. So that anxiety has like stopped my note taking for this job anyway. But I need, I say clear desk, but it's like, it is often full of stuff like laundry and things like that, because that's life. But I also don't tend to, I only really work at this desk when I'm like, when I'm out of battery on my laptop, or I have to design something because I use a Wacom. But otherwise, I'm just out in the deck here and trying to take up as much sun as possible. Because we have a lot of
ability that we have now. COVID, one of the few like positives to come out of the changes in the world that have come from COVID, I think, has been a much more relaxed approach to what a working environment is or should be, a much more inclusive approach to that. So the fact that you have a desk with laundry on, for example, I love that. Like, that's life, right? That's the
Mhm.
important stuff. Maybe not laundry, but like family and life,
Yeah,
and that's the
exactly.
important thing.
Yeah, I think yeah, we were very fortunate with COVID because I had my son just before it, and then we kind of had to hurry back. We traveled with my husband's work. He travels a bit, um, and we sort of did that for like 6 months. Soon after my first was born, and then had to hurry back to the UK with no house to come back to. No, we just kind of like literally got in the day of lockdown, and my parents lived there, so we lived with them for a bit, and we were very, very fortunate. We were, no one we knew was, you know, too ill with COVID, but we had this time where the family was allowed to like be together, and I was able to go back to work, and that stigma of like what would happen to me when I had my children was alleviated a bit. So that was a positive for me, at least. And yeah, the flexible working has really like changed that because it is a worry. You see a lot of women kind of fall out of agencies, fall out of, um, not fall out of their jobs. They just kind of choose a different path. There's a lot of women that go into freelancing, and not a lot of senior females in the bigger kind of corporate positions. So it's a job that has that flexibility, but also you see a decline. So it was always a worry for me because freelancing didn't work out so well for me. And I was like, what's going to happen? But yeah, COVID really like helped in that flexible nature that it introduced.
Mm. What's something that we allies and can do to help females in the workplace in that environment of trying to come back into the workplace after having a kid? How can we best? What do you feel we can do to best support?
That's a great that's a great question. I think the Scandinavians have the right idea, personally. Giving the same amount of paternity leave as maternity leave, making sure that the whole family is held accountable, right, for their children. I think that's a very kind of, governmental kind of recognition of what the workforce is made up of. And then I think removing that stigma, I think, of like a mother and what they need to do, and just giving the space. Like, it's like as if I had an appointment that didn't involve my child, it would be the same, space that you would give someone to go to a dentist appointment or whatever, but it might happen at the same time every day. So I think it's just removing that stigma and removing the idea that like you can do less. um yeah, it's a huge like issue, and it's very different in different countries, very different from different companies too. So I was really, yeah, as I said, with COVID, that made a big difference because the flexibility that it allowed, I didn't have to be at the office from like 9 to 6. And I couldn't, and I had to go and pick them up. They had to be in bed by 5:30 or 6 o'clock or whatever it was when they were babies. So, but if the work needs to be done, I'll do it. And it's that trust, I think, as
Mm.
well, that like responsibility is still yours and you don't need to dilute that. So yeah, a couple of things, I suppose.
Mm. I love
Um,
that idea around the trust. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, 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 not at all. Go for it.
I was just going to say I love that idea of trust because I think that was always held up as the blocker for working from home, right? That like,
Mhm.
oh, well, we can trust you, but we don't know if we can trust everybody. And if we give it to you, then we have to give it to everybody. It was always that argument. And I think suddenly we were put in this world where or we were put into a world where it showed actually people across the board are inherently good. There's one or two bad eggs that will take advantage of that remote
Yeah.
working system, but more or less people are considerate and conscientious and will get the job done. And it
Yeah.
also showed us, I think, that actually the idea that we need 8 hours a day to get something done is like a complete fabrication,
Mm-hmm.
especially depending on like where you are in your career and how long you've been doing it for. Like
Mm-hmm.
you and I, those of us who've been doing this for a while have reached a point where we can do something way quicker than someone who's only just entering the
Yeah.
the industry. And so we don't need the 8 hours to produce the same output, to produce quality, to produce
Yeah.
to get the job done. And
Mm-hmm.
but I do feel like things are sort of slowly creeping back to like come back into the office and we'll give you free lunch
Yeah.
on Wednesdays and
I'd like being in the office, like it really, the connection, and certainly for, the work that we do, it comes off as like, uh, sometimes like when you're trying to tell people like, okay, just move this here, put this here, da, da. If you're not sitting with someone and doing that process, you're not explaining to them like why or when or what the outcome is as you do it. And I think that's like one benefit for like certainly more junior members of the team, that you can show by example. And then the other thing is just community, like LA is a very like isolated city if you don't have those moments of connection. And it's just nice to have a little chat. Like
yeah,
and then
absolutely. Yeah.
speak to people, and it just helps. It helps to chat to people. It makes like otherwise terse conversations easier, and you can just sort of look someone in the eye or not in the eye and just have, a difficult conversation. Much It just makes it a lot nicer.
Um,
Yeah, so I do like it. And I like the flexibility. So if I can leave at 4 or 3 and not have that pressure of like, I didn't get this many hours. I Unfortunately, I do a lot of logging on at nighttime, which I would rather not do, but you know, it is what it is. It's the
yeah.
responsibility. I think it's like, having a list of things that you need to get through that day, and then that responsibility of like doing it or not having someone else pick it up in the morning for you. Um, those types of things like just keep you going.
Mm. There's a great method. And I've talked about this many, many times. It's called the A to D method. And
Hmm.
it came from a book that I started to read. And this was the first chapter. It was only a few pages long. And it said, sit down, get all of the tasks you need to do out of your head, work and personal tasks, put them all down on a list in no particular order, just as they're coming up for you. And then draw a column down the right hand side. And in that column, rank every task A to D. A is you absolutely, without fail, have to get that done before you leave today. B is would be good to do today, but can wait till tomorrow. C
Mm.
is can wait till next week. And D is somebody else could do it. And then what you do is you do all of the Ds. You make sure everyone that needs something from you has got whatever they need, so you're not blocking everyone. And then you do all of the A's, and then you go
Hmm.
home because you've already established that tomorrow the B's will be A's and C's can wait till next week. And the end of
Mm.
the and I remember this completely. The end of the chapter was like, of course, we've got a more to talk about this. Like, this is a very basic way of doing it. And I was like, nope, book done. Like, this works for me. Do the D's, do the A's, and then go home. But
Yeah.
actually, it kind of works because you give yourself a goal for that day.
Hmm.
And yes, things come in last minute and priorities change and shift. And so you need to be a little bit adaptable with it, especially in an agency environment. But you know, it's a great way of saying, right, this is the day. I'm done with the day.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do the important things now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm terrible at like task lists now. I mean, more because of the whole confidentiality thing. Like I think it's like subconsciously I've just stopped making those lists, but I definitely used to do it and it was very helpful. I had like a date, like, my little moleskin diary, and I would write those things down. Now I use my diary for like a train of when I'm confused or I need to work something out or I'm upset about something. I'll just write it all down and then I kind of don't even read it. It's out of my system. So that's what I use writing down things for. But I think a task list is super helpful. It's so nice to like check off. Even if it's like sometimes I write things down that I've already done so that I can check it off. That's mostly what my task lists are. I did that. I took my vitamin, check out. And then,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the retroactive adding of a task. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Total.
Like, there's actually a good purpose to doing that, right? There's a good positive mental benefit for crossing something off and giving yourself that little dopamine hit and saying, well done. Like, yeah, done. Job done. Good job. On to the next thing. Like, there's a self-encouragement in that. And that's what I'm going to keep telling myself as I keep retroactively adding tasks to my list.
I kind of only write tasks down that I've already ticked off now that I think of it. So. It's like, I guess I need it. I need the pump up. So yeah.
Whatever works. If that works,
yeah,
that
exactly.
Works. I'd love to know if you could take us back to sort of the beginning of your career and give us a kind of bullet point journey from there to where you are today. Not necessarily every step, kind of key milestones, and obviously understanding that there are elements that you can't talk about. And so we'll kind of skip over those with a black cloak and a hood and all of the NDA shenanigans that we need.
Yeah. Well, I've actually only really worked at 3 places, so it's pretty quick. But the career part of it, I'm born in Sri Lanka. My parents moved. I would live there till I was 8, and my parents moved to Singapore. As an expat, not immigrant exactly. And we were there my family was there for 14 years. After 10, and when I was 18, I moved to Australia, to Sydney for university. And then it's why I speak in such a odd way. My accent is a mishmash and also changes depending on who I'm talking to. I went to university there to study. I really wanted to go to an art school, but coming from Singapore, my dad's was a banker, and I went to a very highly academic school. So had to figure out what correlation of academia and art could happen in university. I didn't actually know what graphic design was. And I was sort of like enamored by, I really wanted to go to London for university, first of all. A lot of my friends went to Central St. Martin's, and it was like the glory days of that college at the time. But it was really expensive, very far away from where my family were based. And my brother was already in Australia. So, Australia was the place. And we went and had a look at some of the colleges, and the whole idea of going to like somewhere with like sandstone buildings and, the colleges that felt right was the technical colleges where you could learn, graphic design, motion design, that kind of thing. And I was only learning about it as I was looking through the courses. I ended up going to a faculty of Sydney University, which was a mental asylum that they converted into a college. And it was just so otherworldly to me that I just wanted to be an art school student and do strange things. And they had a jewelry studio that looked over the water, and ceramics and all these things. And I chose to do electronic and temporal art, which meant that you were in the basement where all the soundproofing studios were, and where they would, have the people in the straitjackets, like in closed rooms. So it was very different. Once I got in, I was like, I don't think this is for me. But I did a year there and kind of learned a little bit about editing, making sound, sound animation, that kind of thing, but really like back to basics. So we were editing film, like physically cutting film, putting things together. And it was a little bit woo-woo for me. And after a year, I was like, this is not for this. I can't do this for another 2 years or 3 years. And I applied to the design school, which was another university that had a similar setup, but it was more design focused. And I did graphic design and textile design, and came over to London. Oh, sorry. In that time, my parents moved to London. So I would start doing my internships, which was a part of the course back in London, and fell in love with graphic design. I decided to major in that. And then it was the GFC happening around 2009 when I graduated. So I really wanted to stay in London, but they used to have a visa for Commonwealth, people of the Commonwealth to come and work as a youth in the UK. But they removed that. So I went back to Australia and found a job there. I sort of started from scratch, worked in a couple of agencies as an intern, and then was offered a job that was very corporate. I think it was like the design agency that did all the work for Ernst & Young. And then on the same week was offered this other job, which was for a studio called Alphabet. And the pay was less, but they worked for theatres, arts and cultural organizations. Everything was like very handmade, and it was two people who worked there, and I would be their first employee. So I decided to work there. Had the best first job ever. Was there for 6 years, and then my mum was unwell. So I really wanted to get over to the UK. And when I could, my partner and I, we moved over there. And then I freelanced for a bit. Didn't have a great experience with that. And then one of the freelance jobs on the It's Nice That job board came up for Johnson Banks, and which is a studio that I had studied back at university. So I was super excited to see that. It was a freelance role. So I applied, and the correlation of the work that they were doing at the time was, the mix of arts and culture, education work, and not-for-profit. So I kind of fit the bill, and then did some work for them, went back to freelance when that finished. And then a month later, Michael called me back, and yeah, there I was for another 6 years. And then out of the blue, got a call, just after COVID had happened, got a call from LA for this job. And here I am.
Wow.
So yeah, quite a long way of giving an example for a long circuitous route to get here, but not many jobs.
But a huge amount of a huge
Moving.
variance in influence,
Yes.
cultural and geographical, and has that shaped your work?
I would love to say more so. I feel like I do have a style of work, but I was talking to someone recently that I would really like to find a bit more of my roots in my work. we are the dedicated agency for Apple now. So I think like all the work that we produce now has to have a certain identity to manage. And I've always tried to like keep it, the client is always in mind. The only time that I've really done work that's like my style was like these animations that we did for our wedding invitations and stuff like that, that like, you don't have as much pressure, or actually the most amount of pressure ever, however you like to. But yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily influenced my work. I'm sure it has. But I don't know. I wouldn't. It's more the way that I engage with people, I think, is how influenced I've been by the places that I've worked in and the friendships that I've kept, and the way that I kind of hold on to people that make a difference in my life. That is how I think the moving has affected me.
Which is it's lovely when your environment positively steers your aesthetic as a creative, but I would imagine it's far lovelier that the environment gifts you good friends and good people in your life that you want them. When there's someone in your life that you want to stick around, that's always a good thing, right?
Yeah, and it's so rare that those people come about. And for me, it's like I don't. Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I guess I have a lot of close friends, but the people that have made an effect on my life or an impact on my life, I really hold on to them, and I find that with work too. I think I have very close connections with the people that I work with, because I value collaboration so much. Um, but yeah, it really makes working much more fun if you can kind of keep your friends close and kind of nurture those relationships.
Mm. Especially where in a creative environment and on creative projects where there's bound to be an element of tension in any conversation where you're trying to collaborate and figure out a route and how do our paths kind of cross together, and to be
Mm-hmm.
able to explore that with comfort and ease, knowing I can fight my corner for my creative point of view here, but I know that at the end of it we still there's still mutual respect. We're still going to be okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a really lovely route into that. Fight isn't the right word. That's too strong a word, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
um, so I'd love to know, um, what is it that you hope people that you work with say about you when you're not in the room?
Oh God. I don't like to think about what other people think about me. Um, I suppose that I've listened, I think, um, and I've been respectful, and that I've allowed them the space to to speak as well. I think those are very important things. I want to make sure that people are heard and I haven't cut them off, because I get quite excited in a conversation and then I just start talking, and then I'm always like, oh, I need to not speak, and that's the kind of thing that's difficult when you're doing the Zooms and those conversations. It's like sometimes the it'll drop off and it's like, oh, that's my time to jump in. But yeah, I hope that I give people the space to say what they need to say, um, and make that conversation something that's like, oh, everyone in the table gets a voice in. I know it doesn't happen all the time, but I'd like that to be the thing that I allow people to do.
That's a very giving answer. I like that. When you think
um,
back of everything that you have produced over the years, all the pieces of work, is there one that you hold dearest or are most proud of?
Yeah, I noticed that you asked this question, and the the thing that came to mind immediately was a project that we won at Alphabet when I was working there. It was like maybe 4 years in, and we were, a tiny studio, and um, it was myself, the two creative directors, and then we had another designer. And the four of us, I think one of the projects that had been like, the pinnacle of like the work that we were doing was the Sydney Festival. And one of our creative directors had worked on the Sydney Festival before when he was at a much bigger agency, and they had it for a number of years. And it was sort of this project that was like you put out almost like a tender, and then they have to put out a tender, and then you can kind of try and get it. And we worked on it, the four of us, for I guess a month. We put together like an entire pitch, and we produced little programs and printed things out, and everything was very collaborative. The designer that we worked with, she was very like copy driven. I was much more like typographic, branding driven. And then the two CDs also had their like strengths. So the four of us would come together and we put together this pitch, and we came in with one idea and we won it. And it was like quite a surreal thing, because this tiny little agency, you're up against the big guns of, the Sydney design team at the time. And I don't think I've ever felt as accomplished or as proud of anything as that project. The joy that we felt. And I think it was because it was just a group effort, and it was like, we climbed a mountain together. And it was just, yeah, I think the collaborative nature of what we were as a team is like something that I always try and come back to whenever I'm in a new work environment or a new team. The symbiosis and everything. It feels still, that was 2013, like still feels like the happiest or proudest moment work wise, even though I've done, I guess, more global, more, celebrated things since. It still feels like a, big part of my my heart
Mm.
was that work.
And what did it feel like once you'd won and you actually started on the project? What was it? What was the day to day on that? Was there still that sort of feeling of elation all the way through?
Yeah, because, we were still very much in a print design mode. It like the festival, I don't think it really exists in the way that it used to now, but it used to take over the whole city. You'd have like a festival village that, yeah, comes to life with your design, and you sort of blanketed the city with, and then you work very closely with their marketing team as well. You produce everything, every bit of paraphernalia, and then every like um performance center, art center. uh, I'm not sure that we did work with the Opera House, but the Darling Harbour, like all the flags that take over the city. So it's everywhere. And so when you're working on it, it wasn't digital really at all. Like the digital experience was buying the tickets, but the whole of Hyde Park gets blanketed with your design, and it was really just like cool, and they like it was a verbal identity. So there was art centers that had like canvassed their whole like stairwell with all like the verbal identity there, and they really like took it on. And so it was just joyous, and they kept that identity for like 7 years. So and it moved on, and it was, that's my like, I love to create work that has impact like that, or that has sustained, it can be reshaped every year to feel fresh. But yeah,
That's
it was
great.
exciting.
Like, yeah, I love, and there
Yeah.
is having worked on both digital and physical products. There is something about seeing. It's brilliant to see a digital product live and people using it. It's brilliant to see a TVC out in the world and know that you had a part in it. But to see a physical element that you have designed or have had a hand in designing, whether it's packaging design or a flags like adorning a park
Yeah.
or like whatever it might be, like there is something a bit special about that. Like even an
Yeah.
out of home board, just like yeah, like
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah. It really gives you that, I don't know, it's like that checkbox, isn't it? Again, it's like that, it's a physical, um,
hi, welcome back. A few days later, after a power cut on my end meant that part one of Lara's chat got cut short far too early. So I'm very pleased to welcome you back. Hi, hello again.
hi, how are you?
Um, I'm good. I now have power,
Nice to be
so
back
that's good.
with
Yeah,
power.
yeah. I have heating. I have hot water. It's brilliant. Um, when the power went, when we were so rudely interrupted by someone putting a spade through a power cable in the roadworks outside, um, we were talking about your work at the City Festival and seeing banners and flags and your work sort of adorned on buildings and lampposts around the city, and how the impact of seeing that, um, and how gratifying that can be, seeing your work in the wild, but also how odd that can be sometimes to sort of be
Hmm.
presented with this thing. What was the most sort of bizarre place that you saw a piece of your work?
Oh God. Um, I don't know if it was bizarre, but one of the installations that year or the year after was oh, I can't remember his name now, but there was a artist who does these like rubber duckies in like, I think it's happened in the Thames and it was in Darling Harbour. So all our work was around that structure. I mean that's probably the most bizarre, but yeah, I don't know if it's also like really taking me back. This is like 2013, 2014. So,
Right.
since then it's like slowly moved into the digital realm. So I think that might be like the weirdest place that we kind of had to canvas around,
Mm.
but not necessarily bizarre in nature.
So was that
um
like giant rubber ducks or
yeah. I think he's done his sort of installations all over the world. But yeah, there's these giant rubber ducks, and it was in the Darling Harbour as a part of the festival. And I'm pretty sure I've seen it. I don't know if they're mock-ups now, thinking back, but like I'm pretty sure it's happened in the Thames and in certain like bodies of water. Um,
brilliant?
He's a great artist, and like installations that come about in those festival times.
Mm. Whenever I did packaging work, I can say this now because I don't do packaging design anymore, and the projects I did were so many years ago. But whenever I did them, I used to hide. Uh, after I had kids, I used to hide my kids' initials in the design wherever I could, and
Oh,
before
nice.
I used to hide little sort of Easter eggs
Easter
that no one would
eggs.
ever know
Yeah.
about. Have you ever done anything like that you can talk about?
No, the only Easter egg that I like accidentally or didn't want to talk about was the once I was no, and I wish I had now that you say that. But no, I used to do a lot of the artworking kind of, we were a team of four in Sydney, and my job was to kind of output all the ads that went to all the newspapers and publications and the Time Out magazine and stuff like that. So that was my kind of thing that I managed. And artworking was like a point of major anxiety for me. getting things print ready for newspaper, like bringing the ink weight down and blah, blah, blah. And, you have like 50 versions of the same art that was like for different publications. And one time I was artworking it was like a film festival, and the actor wanted his beard to be darker, and I had layered up a bunch of cut like beards in a Photoshop file, and one went floating, and it was in the art at the like, and I saw it in one of the publications, and I like my heart just like dropped to my guts, and I still remember that being like, things like that happened and you can't erase it. And so the next publication, I had to like frantically call them I saw it on a Sunday and then went into work super early on a Monday, called the next publication and was like, this is, and they were like, don't worry, we've, and it was a magazine. So they had actually caught the error.
Right.
But yeah, like that was probably one of the worst things. It was just like this floating, and I don't think anyone really saw it, but I did, and it was horrific. But this floating beard, like, luckily it was like a Star Wars kind of festival thing, and it was all collaged art, so I guess forgivable. But yeah, no, that's the only illegal thing I've hidden.
I love it.
Yeah.
Floating galactic beard, brilliant.
Yeah, it still gives me like anxiety when I think about it. The pressure of all of that. Artworking and stuff. Just it was just final, and no, but nothing lovely, I don't think. I think I would have hidden stuff in some comps like early on before you go to like, final art production. But yeah, unfortunately, no names.
I know what you mean about the pressure of artworking and print, especially if the thing that's to be printed is a complicated, like cut and fold or something like that, and trying to make, for me, the pressure was really on of trying to make it correct so that you're not going to waste like a 5,000 print run of
Yeah.
something. And I wasn't very good at that, which is why I didn't do much packaging design. Not like a bog standard sort of box or a DVD cover or something like that was absolutely fine, obviously. But when it was a complicated, like if it was a bit of direct mail or something that had a fancy fold or a pop-up element, or I would always try and get like someone to double and triple check it for me before it went
Oh,
off.
absolutely. Yeah. It was like such a joy when I moved to, to the UK, and actually, no, we did a lot of artworking ourselves there too. But like, just to have, I went from a 4-person kind of studio to like a 5 to 9-person studio, and now I'm in a 300, 400-person office. And so there's like, that was having that like production arm, artworking arm, studio arm, when it comes down to it, is like, they're experts in that part of their job, and you don't have to multitask. It's a real joy.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it myself.
Yeah.
But those skills do come back, and I think that's something that I do think in the future. My husband was asking me what, he's always kind of asking me about my brother and family members and friends are just like, what's the impact of like AI in your career? And that level of artworking, or not artworking, but like, organizing information for different sizes, and figuring out whether something works aesthetically, that's going to go away. But I think that's where I learned all my kind of organizational, design system thinking. That's where it came from, because I used to have to sit there and just work it out myself. And then, my CDs, they wouldn't check every single one, but they would look at it as an overall piece and be like, okay, that feels right. And sometimes it is, things don't always fall on the grid. They don't always fall on the the right, there's a little bit of push and pull. And I do wonder with like junior art workers, like where that skill set's going to be built and that knowledge. With junior designers, midweight designers, like it's such a foundational kind of thing that you don't learn it unless you have to do it. So yeah, it's a big question to me, because you don't jump over those hoops and get to that skill level until you've kind of stepped and repeated those things a little bit. So
Exactly.
I can't remember what your question was, but that's something that has gotten through.
I think we just sort of like organically got here. But you're right, though. Like the way to master your craft is through repetition, is through making mistakes.
Yeah.
And learning from those mistakes, and hopefully, hopefully learning from them.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one of the very first jobs I had was a theatre assistant at a sort of provincial touring theatre in Oxford, which is a very grand title for dog's body. So I did everything. I answered the phones, I opened the post, I took post to be sent, to the post office, and refilled the toner in the photocopier, and like all of this kind of stuff. And I loved it because I got exposure to every department. And so I really understood the business of theatre. I learned the business of theatre through that. And one of the best things that ever happened, I posted a check for £250,000, but I posted it without a stamp.
Oh my God.
And, this was like, the theatre was a charity. It needed that money. Or rather, it was paying that money for something, but it needed to not have the fine of having the check lost. Because at that point in the UK, if you wrote a check and got it lost and you had to have it cancelled, you had to pay a percentage of the check to have it cancelled.
They still operate in checks here. We pay our rent with checks. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I mean, I'll fax you over my response to that.
Honestly, our daycare, we had to pay with checks. Like, we were like, excuse me, what do you mean? I haven't used a check in my whole life. And then, my dad used to write checks in the early 90s. And in America, checks.
Wow.
I mean, LA, I don't know about other states, but yeah.
Right. Crazy.
It's insane. Like, I just don't even.
Yeah.
My kid was doing like a scouts run and donations, and one of our neighbors donated via check. It's sitting here in my to-do box because I don't know what to do with it. I have to go to the bank and put it in. Like, it's bizarre.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't it? I can't tell anyone here as well, because they're like, yeah, it's checks. It's normal, but
I mean, the whole thing is the bizarre system. Like, it sort of feels a bit playground when you think about it. I'm going to write you an IOU. It's odd, isn't it?
It's very strange. I get checks in the mail. I'm just like, I don't know what. I'm not good. And my husband has to just like collect things, and they're for like an overspend of $20 or something, and he'll have to take them to the bank and put them in. I mean, it's like kind of nice, but it's not the nicest part of like what's gone missing of banking. Like, maybe I don't know. yeah, it's very odd. But anyway, please go on with
Yeah,
yours.
no, I love it. I love the segue, the side quest, and like side quest on a side quest. The very first job I did for 20th Century Fox,
Mm-hmm.
they paid by check.
Mm.
And it was all branded. The check was branded, so I never cashed. It was only for something like $200. It was like a tiny, tiny tester project, so I never cashed it. And somewhere in storage, I've got that very first check from Fox. It just seemed like
Oh,
it was my first company. It was the first time working for them. It just seemed like this kind
yeah.
of milestone moment to keep that.
I
I
mean, if
did
you
not
did it
keep.
again, they might pay you in check. I don't know. I mean,
No, I
it's
did
just,
not keep subsequent checks. They were paid like pretty quickly into the bank. But this one that I posted,
mm,
I had to. I had a huge bag of letters that had all been franked. The like swipey machine that you put through
mm-hmm.
without the and to carry them to the post office, I had put the letter with the check in inside that bag,
Huh.
meaning to take it out when I got there and do it as like special delivery or recorded or whatever the like postal services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I forgot in the time it took me to leave the theatre and walk to the post office. I completely forgot, and I just threw the bag across the counter into this huge tub of all these other bags of franked
Oh my
mail.
gosh. Yeah.
Went back to the theatre, and the general manager said, "Have you got the receipt for like with the tracking number for the letter?" And
Mm.
I ran. I just absolutely pelted it back to the post office. And when I got there, they said, it's gone. It's gone to the sorting office. If you can beat the truck there,
Oh
you
my
might be able to
God.
get it. Here's like the bin number of like all of those bags. So I ran the other side of the city to the sorting office, and I told the guy, I'll never forget him. He was this big, muscly guy, sort of like 5 o'clock shadow. And I was like out of breath and sweating. And I was like really nervous and saying to him what I'd done. And he just put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "It's all right, come with me." And he walked me through this like plastic, like the kind of
Yeah,
sheets of
yeah.
plastic that hang down in the doorway. He walked me through that and he kind of gestured like this to this room. I kid you not, was like to me, it felt like the size of a football pitch with all of these like conveyor belts and machines and bags and letters just going everywhere. And he said, "If you can find it, you're welcome to it." And then just walked off laughing. And when I got back to the theatre, the general manager was really, really good. She was really kind. And she said to me, "Don't worry about it. You've been in this job for 4 or 5 weeks. And
Mm,
that's the point where you make a mistake
mm,
because you're starting to like settle into that place, that role, those people, but you still
mm,
don't know everything yet. So
mm.
there's like this weird moment where you're getting comfortable, but you're not quite there because you haven't done those reps, because you haven't
Yeah.
gone through all of those things to get back to like the original part of this. So I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. Like you have to go through those stages, and when those stages are truncated by a tool, how do you get that experience?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a mundane thing. Like the task I'm thinking of. Um, and I honestly like it was every Wednesday morning for like 2 hours, and Monday morning and sorry, Tuesday morning I would like sort out all the artwork because I wanted to get on to like the more fun things. Um, but you had to like have you do like the basic kind of reshuffling of everything, and then you had to go back and make sure that each one was like beautiful. And but it was even like things like organizing the logos in a in a line or whatever. Like certain publications had certain logos and blah blah blah, and the spacing between each one is like optically done, rather you'd figure it out and then you'd optically like shift them around. um and yeah, I just don't. I mean, I guess yeah, a tool can certainly do it and do it really well, but and then you'd have, yeah, I don't know, the act of doing it really does cement something. And now I can like look at a sequence of things and be like, okay, these are like wrong or whatever, but I don't know that not doing it will allow somebody to kind of have that foundation and the eye for it. I mean, you probably will, but I don't know. I feel like there is something that's going to go missing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you say about doing, the logos and putting them all in line and then optically tweaking them a little bit to make it actually work.
Mm,
Because I can remember doing that. I never had any formal training in design.
mm,
I just sort of learnt on the way. And
yeah,
I can remember doing that thinking there has to be like some kind of formal,
yeah,
better way of doing it than this. And when
mm,
I learned that, when I found out that, like, no, that's how we do this,
yeah,
I was like, really?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the same. I went to, as I said, like an art school that taught design, and the way that design was taught was much more conceptual.
Mm,
And it was not till I started doing my internships that I had to do like more of my formal training. And then I think the real formal training was done my first role, because it was all of the, you know, and it's like hilarious. Like we used to do the programs for the festivals, and like I it's like still laugh because my and all the financials, my CDs, they used to do the financials with tabs. They used to tab everything out, and I could not understand how to do that, like with tabs. And I was like always so confused, like why don't you use a table to do this? And because they'd never used tables. So I was like, the first 2 years, they were like, you don't know how to use InDesign. You don't know how to like do this. And I'd be like, no, I just don't understand why you're using tabs. So then one year, then when we got Fit Sydney Festival, it was a 3-week sheet, and we had condensed down the artwork to this like A5 little booklet, but the 3-week sheet had to be a bespoke rollout. And I was like, I'm not tabbing this. And so I got the artwork from the marketing department, which was an Excel spreadsheet. So I just took the Excel spreadsheet, converted it into InDesign, and then just like arranged it and organized it. And it was like I remember them looking at my computer going like, oh, it's like magic. Like I'm designing this thing in like tables. And then they'd be like, oh, it's too short. You need to bring it up by like, the rollout is only this many mils. And so I'd just be like, okay. And then you do it. And they were like, what? Like, how did you do that? Like, how did you? And I was like, no, it's tables. Like, you're tabbing this thing and it doesn't make any sense. So it's like, your learnings come from whatever the person that taught you um, to do it. And yeah, I remember just like then for the next three years, like I was the only person in the studio that could do the calendar for the entire festival. And I had to convert all their like, legacy documents into tables. And it was just, I don't know, it's like those skills, I think, like it's for me, it used to be really pleasing as well. Like just like, being able to design those like really minute details. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe you'll have more time to do more impressive things, but I do think that those foundations do give you like that there is going to be something that is going to go missing at some point. Um, but we'll see.
I wonder if it's about reminding ourselves that the first, we shouldn't just accept the first thing,
Mm,
even if, I don't believe in good enough. I don't believe in putting out work that's good enough. I don't
mhm,
believe in an MVP. I don't believe in just getting there and then adding to it later on. I think if you're going
mhm,
to do something, do it well, put your heart and soul into it to
mhm.
whatever point is normal and safe and healthy, and like don't work all the way through the night. Can't do that anymore. But like, you know, you when you get the opportunity to work on the kind of brands that you and I have worked on, there's thousands of people that want to work with those brands.
Mm.
Why would you spoil that opportunity that you've got by like doing half a job? Do you know what I mean? So I think
Oh, yeah.
maybe there's a thing there about if if we're beginning to use Gen AI in our process, like don't accept the first thing, keep looking at it, going, how can I push that
Oh,
further?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a real culture of that where I am now, and certainly in every place that I've worked. I think the the search for that craft and that search for the idea has been like the core of the process. And so making sure that you're always coming back to that the central idea has been like the driver in a lot of instances. And then certainly like with where I am now, it's unwavering craft, you know. So there's absolutely no place for somebody, and the meticulous attention to detail like here I'm constantly floored by, and we definitely go to the experts for every single piece of the puzzle, and it's like completely 180. You're involved in every single part of it, but you're not doing it. So, but yeah, I've been in edits where we have scrubbed through every frame to make sure that the color is just right every frame. And I don't even like for like a 30-second or a 15-second thing, like every frame, making sure that we haven't missed something, that we haven't like that the hand is exactly placing something down in the exact way and there's no shadow, that, you know, it's that detail that that is really required. And certainly we've started to use AI in the process of concepting, but never in the process of like production, if that makes sense. And I wonder, you know, that will be like processes are being helped by AI. And I do think that there is a value to it. It does accelerate a lot of you know, step and repeats. And when it comes to this level of output, I do think it's certainly valuable. So I'm kind of like going back on what I said, but like at the same time, yeah, the not stopping at just the first pass is hugely, you know, important, and like learning how to discern what is good enough. I think it's the, you know, it's going to like keep raising that bar for wherever you are, because if you're going to be willing to stop here, then like, but then it's like, how do you know, as the other is the other point of difference. And that's like surrounding yourself with people from different backgrounds, people with different like experiences, people with different like exposure. And yeah, I think making sure that you're from an eclectic set in every instance. You can't do that yourself. I don't think. So yeah, yeah, taste is going to be the huge differentiator for the future.
What a brilliant piece of advice to surround yourself with an eclectic group. I think that's a genius piece of advice, because most of us as creatives, I mean, I think everybody, but creatives especially, to some degree, to a greater or lesser degree, have imposter syndrome throughout our entire career. And so we naturally navigate towards what feels safe, which is people that we can speak the same language of, that maybe have the same kind of aesthetic as us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really bad example, but that's kind of akin to like staying in your political bubble and not having the difficult conversations with someone who has opposing views, right? Like if you surround yourself with other artists that will have a different aesthetic, will come from it from a different point of view, will look at life through a different lens, the output is bound to be richer because of that.
Mm.
Because of that exchange of ideas and that exchange of points of view. I think that's a really like a fundamentally great piece of advice.
Yeah. And I think it's I come from a place where I've been able to move and have those different opinions like constantly surround me. I also think there's like a beauty in the work that is like some of the work that I've seen from like they call them the geo offices, like the local offices that work for Apple anyway. Like it's amazing the things that come out of like the Vietnam office or the Japan office or the India office, like the creative that's coming out there that is like rooted in their culture. Um, so that's like kind of the exact opposite, I suppose, but like I think the hybrid nature of what they're doing is like looking at their culture on an international stage and the like energy that comes from like some of their work is like so uniquely them, but then they're doing it through the lens of like an international brand. um so I think that like point of tension is really lovely too. And that does come, yeah, it is like an eclecticism because they're marrying those two forces. But yeah, I think for me, I've been very, very fortunate, but to be like the outsider always, which is bringing a different kind of pass on things, I suppose. But I'm an outsider anywhere I go, so that's
But
that's
I
my
think
journey.
having that outside point of view elevates everything. Exactly like not having the same aesthetic, the same point of view, having someone that comes in and shakes things up a bit with respect.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not to be sort of throwing your ideas around the world and around the room and sort of um, stamping your mark on everything that's going on. Like, but just like to have that respectful, creative conversation. Don't know if it's picking it up, but the dog agrees in the background. Um, like that's a really important thing. Many years ago, I worked on the first ever campaign to promote safe sex for China,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the concept that I had was sound, but I just couldn't get the graphics right. I just couldn't get the visual story right. And
Mhm.
so we worked with someone in market, and they nailed it first time
Wow. Yeah.
because the cultural sensitivities around that were needed to be so on point.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that experience. And so it was to have someone come in through that different lens just instantly elevated everything. So
Yeah.
uh, I would say, if I may, rather than being an outsider, you are the elevator, the lifter upper of quality and way of thinking.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, we are a very like even the team right now, like we're all from all parts of the world, and yeah, in most places that I've worked, that's been like a really fortunate grouping of people, and yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to kind of work with people from everywhere and all walks of life.
Mm. Having said that, what is something, or maybe this feeds into it, maybe it doesn't. What's something that you've had to unlearn recently?
Mm. Um, hmm. It's a good question. I mean, for me, I think it's my emotional attachment to my work that I don't think I've unlearned it yet, but I I get very kind of invested in whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm producing, and um I think the act of letting go of like
Mm.
of my attachment to things and like not having it emotionally kind of affect me is something I need to learn better. I think that's like, yeah, I'm too attached, and it's your own kind of attachment that kind of gives you that anxiety or that, like, sleepless nights and stuff. And it also is the reason that you kind of keep going back and trying to refine and all of that side of things. But it also is, it can be a detriment to your like mental health. So that's something I'm working on unlearning, is just giving that emotional distance from the work. And I will continue to try and unlearn that.
Right. What are you finding is the sort of sign in you to know I'm getting too attached to this? Like I need to pull back a little bit.
Somebody else has to tell me.
Right. Right. Okay.
That's the sign. Yeah, it's tricky because, yeah, I'm very much in that space right now, and it's not good because I'm not allowing that breathing space to actually think of a better solution or a different solution, because that space gives you the ability to like laterally think of something that's not working, and going for a walk, or I force myself to do like an hour of some kind of exercise or movement, like, because it really does like change my day. But yeah, I haven't. I'm not that good at detaching myself, and I think it's also like, not to be unfair to where I am right now, but it's a culture of work that is different in sort of this country compared to certainly Australia, the UK. There's an importance to like lunch and evenings, and there's you don't email someone after a certain time, or you don't message someone, and that is different here. And that ability to switch off is not as elastic. And yeah, I think it causes a ricochet effect where it starts to infiltrate into like every part of your life. Yeah, so I am not good at figuring it out myself just yet, but I will let you know when I when I do.
Please do,
Yeah,
because
it's the thing.
it's on
Yeah,
my list as well.
right. And I mean, as creatives, I think it's an unfortunate, like, I always, you know, from a child, it was like my identity was very much attached to my ability. So from a child, I was the one that was the painter, or the artist, or the in like when we were like 11, 12, like I was the one that was doing the bubble letters that everyone, I would help people do their, the typography like person. But it's like very much a part of who you are, and your like worth and your self-worth and all of that. And so our jobs are linked to our our being, and then separating that as you become a mother or a parent or is tough. I even see it with my son. Like now he draws so much, and he'll be like, do you like, it's that, I don't know if it's an Asian thing, but it's like, do you like it? Is it good? Do you think it's good? And I'm like, do you think it's good? And he's like, yeah, but do you think it's good? And I'm like, and I'm like, oh, it could be better. Like, you've done like other ones that are better and stuff. And I'm like, should I be saying that? But then it's like we need that. We do the art for someone else as much as you do it for yourself. And it's hard. It's hard to break it, break the cycle. So yeah, I don't have the answer,
That
unfortunately.
so resonates. Like as I mentioned, my original sort of background was in theatre and acting,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew from a very, very young age I want to tell stories. And then I discovered I'm good at telling stories, and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of morphed into I'm good at making people laugh. Oh, I feel liked when I make other people laugh. I like that feeling, so I'm going to do more of that. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just this mask that grew and grew and grew as to who I was pretending to be to try and get some um, validation or acceptance or attention, I guess, from
Mm-hmm.
whoever was in the room, and having to unlearn that really quite late in life has been so hard to be
Mm.
to actually realize that thing that we're always seeking from our parents or from our peers or from our teachers or from our colleagues. Actually, the only way we're going to feel fulfilled in that is if we give ourselves that attention, if we give ourselves that acknowledgement and that, yes, you did do a good painting. Well done. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's wonderful and amazing to have your parents or your brothers and sisters or your friends say, I love that thing that you did.
Mm.
And if it's to do with work, there's like another level when it's your peers that say that because they understand the craft or your day to day or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. But on the very rare occasion where I am able to allow myself to pay myself a compliment, wow, does that feel good, right? And so I think, and side note, I love that you're saying to your son, you've done better ones, and like, have you tried this? I love that. I, you know, I found it really difficult to try and word things like that with my two. They're much older now, but like,
Yeah.
so I can easily tell them how they could have done better. No, that's not what I mean. But like,
No, I know. It's I
constantly praising them. Like, how do they learn? How do
mm,
they learn how to get better? There's a way of giving positive feedback on something.
yeah, it's I catch myself when I say it, but like I also can't not say it because I'm just like, that's not as good as and then you're like,
You want me
oh,
to
I'm
put
like,
this on
what
the
am I?
fridge?
Yeah, it's like, what am I like? I have like flashes to like when he's like 30, and I'm like, what will my mom think of this? And I yeah, but I'm not gonna, yeah, I'm not a person that's gonna be like, that is amazing. Everything's amazing. It's like, well, no, because they do have these kids, and like maybe again, I grew up in like very, in Asia. They're just like, I'm amazing. I'm amazing, and I'm a really good this, and it's like that's great that you can say that at 6. But I did not have that narrative in my head at that age at all. Like, even though I was, better at whatever it was, I wouldn't be going around being like, I'm a good this. And I'm like, good for you. And then also I have the complete opposite thought at the same time. I don't want, I don't know. I want a sense of reality, especially if they're going to be creative.
Yeah.
And also to like, just, yeah, better yourself. And, I don't know. I'm kind of putting the things that I've just said are the things that I need to detach from, back into the world. But I think you have to have some kind of drive in yourself and then it's also that, to improve, but then also to stop, right? Like in painting, it's always like when you know that you're finished, is like it's such a pleasing kind of, you can look at your painting and be like, I wouldn't put one more dot on there. And that's a really amazing feeling too. So yeah.
I love it. I think it's a fantastic way to be. Yes, I can remember seeing kids when mine were growing up that were. It's not so much that the kids were saying it, but that the parents were like, "Oh, little Timmy's like the best at
Mm.
whatever this is," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, he is now, but little Timmy's going to have like a real shock when the world smacks him around the face when he gets to uni and like he's suddenly 12th place
Yeah.
in his group, or because he hasn't had that
Yeah. I mean, that's a
loving
great
reality check."
realization too, when you go into, like, I remember our school, the kids that did art were just phenomenal. And then it was a driver, it was like, oh, I'm not as good as like I wasn't at like primary school. So, and it was just like this constant, like you want to keep working at it and you want to keep like bettering yourself. So I think it does come at some point, like with your peers, if you are open to like seeing other people's work, and the self-evaluation definitely comes at school. Like certainly it did for me. And it's that same thing like with a sport, with you get thrown into an environment where you're no longer like the best. And then if you have that drive to keep bettering yourself, you will, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's certainly like, I don't know what the right way is, like how to reduce the therapy bills in the future. Generations. But yeah, I think it will come. Regardless, it will come, the therapy. So I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, I think that's part of being human. Also, I'm aware that I'm sat here nodding along to the concept of knowing that you are at this level of sporting prowess, and you go on because I was never at this level of sporting prowess. Like,
Me either.
draw a nice picture. I can do that.
Yeah.
Or like I'll sit out on this one. I'll stay on the bench.
Yeah, me
We're
too.
coming up on like collective time over the two parts of this conversation. So as we come into the last two questions, I'd love to know what you would hope people listening or watching this episode take away with them.
In the two parts. I think, yeah, I had to think about this last time, and I certainly haven't thought about it over the week, but like for me, saying yes to things has been a real way that I've been able to navigate my journey, and not being afraid to accept change. I think is like what I'd love for people to think about, like on their next step, or because I think it's really the way that I've learned things. And I think I've moved countries and stuff for different reasons, but this last jump has been obviously the most significant, and I did not know what I was signing myself up for, and I took a long time to like start to. I felt like I was just floating for about the first year, but I think yeah, like having the confidence or not the confidence to accept change is what I'd like people to take away.
I like that. New question that I'm trialing for this series, this season, I should say. If you think about 80-year-old you looking back to where you are now, what would 80-year-old you, if she could come and visit you, what would she say to you right now?
I could just hear my husband telling my son something, but it's I think it's I did watch this video recently that was exactly that. It was like yourself talking to yourself when you're a lot younger and having some compassion towards yourself, I think is a very powerful thing to recognize all the things that you're doing and having some perspective on it. And one of the things that really got me from that video was imagine talking to your mum and hearing her voice. Because you can't do that when you're 80. And that, really struck me because I haven't lived in the same country as my parents for a number of years now, and also other people in my life that are very dear to me. And imagine and remember what it is like hearing their voice and being able to call them. So, I think just have some kindness and compassion to yourself. You don't have to do everything at once, and make sure you're calling people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost has nothing to do with work, to be honest. As if that's.
But it's so important to find that when you have some people so special in your life, for both ways, to put the effort in to remain in each other's lives and be there for each other when the chips are down, but also when things are good, and help support and celebrate each other, I think is a really good piece of advice. We're at the final question. It's the same final question for everyone that comes on the show. Are you, Lara, awaiting approval?
I would love to be one of those people that have said absolutely no. But unfortunately, well, not fortunately, I'm a person that is constantly awaiting approval, whether it's from, family, friends, work. And it is that thing that it's chasing for always being better. And also from myself. So I'd love to say no, but yes, 100%.
I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. And thank you for such an amazing conversation. There is a huge amount here for everyone listening to take away. And all that's left to do is for you to say, how can people get in contact with you? What other sort of links and things like that would you like to share?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is always the best. I have my email available on my website, but I think I'm much more responsive on that platform, and things won't get lost. So, happy to hear from anyone that wants to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Lovely to chat.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're feeling stuck or want to think out loud about where you're heading, remember that you don't have to figure that all out on your own. I offer a free 15-minute conversation to anyone who wants help figuring out what's in front of them. Whether that leads to us working together or not doesn't matter. What matters is that you have someone in your corner, even if it's just for those 15 minutes. Head to growwithadamjennings.com and book your call. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the show so that you don't miss the rest of season 3. There is some absolute gold coming your way. So until next time, keep creating, keep questioning, and above all else, keep going.